Alert. This meeting is being recorded by the host or a participant. And welcome, guys. You're back on the Liberty Show with Kevin Fortune and friends. I promise you this, that, and the other thing. These are famous words that politicians always say on for all parties, all political views. But what are these promises? Are we fulfilling them? Are we keeping up with what we've promised people? This has been a very important and a very current topic with our current president, Joe Biden. He promised so many things to his voters, and like 99.9999.9999 have not come through. Even some of his executive orders that he did thought was going through, the Supreme Court and other judicial reviews have overturned. So we're going to talk about tonight. What is Joe Biden doing? How is he doing? What about his promises? Is he a big liar? Is he just a politician? Is it him or is it the people for falling for that? So we're going to go and talk about that tonight. So we're going to get started. Our normal conservative, you know, David McKay, he passed away this summer, but we have a replacement. So we're going to go down to the Sunshine State. Patrick, you're back on the Liberty Show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. We're told that elections have consequences, right? And we also promised that Joe Biden would build back better. So I think those that voted for Biden were hoping that those consequences would be a better America. And unfortunately, I think we're seeing the exact opposite. And I think a lot of those folks who voted for Biden maybe really not liking the fact that they voted for what they see right now. And I figured the three big failures that Biden has had so far, and it's not even a year into his administration at this point, really three things that stand out for me. First being the border. We're over 2 million border crossings at this point, and that's just the ones that we know of. How many more slip through in the dead of night or trafficked in otherwise? And that's what this is. This is not, yes, there are good people coming across the border, but a lot of this is cartel activity, human trafficking, drug trafficking, you name it. That's what's coming across the border. And the people who turn their blind eye to that and think that it's a humanitarian thing to do and it's the right thing to do and so forth are really naive as to what the situation is. The humanitarian thing to do, the right thing to do would have a zero tolerance policy to make sure these people stay at the safety of their home nation. We send billions of dollars down to foreign nations to help address some of these problems at the source. Now we're paying billions of dollars to address the problem here at home. Aren't there communities out there that could use that money? And there absolutely is. So that's number one on Biden's big failures, the border, and that's only going to get worse. 2 million so far. How many more by the end of the year and by the time this guy's done? Second, inflation. We're up at 4.3%. I think that was a little bit low. I think depending on where you get that number from on a consumer price index, it's a little bit higher. That's a 30-year high. 1991 was the last time we saw inflation rise like that in the past. And to give you a contrast there, Americans' incomes only went up 0.2%. So every American had a massive pay cut this year under Biden's Build Back Better. It's a tax on the middle class is what we're seeing. It's not good what's happening right now. And that averages out to $175 per American family more that they're paying per month under Biden right now. And just to kind of give you an example of what this means in real everyday life outside of the household rise is Gorda, California. A gallon of gas out there is $7.59. Now, what if you're a resident in that town and you have to drive as your livelihood and you're having to pay $7.59 a gallon just to fill your car? Lastly, on that is we all see what's going on with the supply chain, the backups there. In addition, you've got the government printing money, issuing money. So what we're going to see is a massive supply of money chasing a limited supply of goods. So you've already got prices rising. You've already got heating costs are going to go through the roof, you name it. And now our money is going to be chasing smaller goods because Biden is such a disaster. His transportation secretary, a man, was on maternity leave for 2 months, just came back and said, oh yeah, this supply chain stuff, it'll last at least into next year, well into next year. Well, maybe if he was doing his job, we would have solved it by now, but that's not the case. And lastly, last point I wanted to bring up is militarily. We saw what happened in Afghanistan, $2.26 trillion for that war, and we turned it right back over to the Taliban. On the withdrawal, 13 American servicemen and women lost their lives. And I remember hearing about this when this all happened, is Sacramento school children in Afghanistan. I tried to find an update there. We had heard about these school children, 38 school children that were trapped in Afghanistan. Right before the show started, I tried to find a link saying they were home safe and sound, and I couldn't find it. Maybe they're back, but if they're not, we've got school kids that are under Taliban rule right now, and no one seems to care, or the press doesn't seem to be concerned. The administration doesn't seem to be working on it. So I thought that was really surprising, if that's still the case, if we got basically American hostages, school kids, that the administration can't be bothered about. One last thing about Afghanistan is $1 trillion in rare earth minerals in Afghanistan. Why didn't we use those to fuel the next generation of semiconductors? You see what's going on in Taiwan right now. China's trying to take them over. That's our concern, because they're the ones that make our semiconductors for our refrigerators, our cars, our computers, everything like that comes out of Taiwan. China's trying to take it. We could have got the same minerals that are used in those semiconductors for our use. Didn't do it. And then both militarily weakened abroad, with what we saw in Afghanistan, and here at home with the vaccine mandates, a lot of good servicemen and women are going to leave. They're going to look at the leadership from the military and how poorly it's being run. They're going to be looked at having to put something in their body they may or may not want, and they're going to leave. It'll be a brain drain of the best and the brightest in the American military. And when you total all these three things up, you couldn't possibly be this inept if you tried, right? So to me, this is all by intention. It's all about weakening the America that we know, and just make it subservient to outside influences, and basically just something that global groups, individuals, nations can just profit off the backs of our hard work and labor. So it's really a shame that what Biden's doing is he was nothing promised, nothing he said he was going to do, he's done. He's not even mentally coherent, but it all seems by design to weaken and diminish this country on national stage, and to do it on the backs of the American middle class. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, that was a really good opening. You brought up so many great points. I just want to touch on a few of them before we move on. You were talking about the border. Yes, there has been a border. A crisis is not even the word now. It's an epidemic. It's a catastrophe. But even that, Biden made several executive orders. Like one of them was that people crossing the border in Mexico, before Trump had said they had to stay in Mexico while they're waiting on the hearing, all that. And Biden reversed that. Well, some Supreme Court, or I don't know, one of the higher courts, they reversed that. So now, they're right back where they started. And so people were like, oh, yeah, we get to come over the border. But no, they're really not. If they're caught, they have to stay over in Mexico. So, a lot of his executive orders, and he's had so many, I think we did a show on that, even they're being reversed because they're not legal, they're not legitimate. And, truthfully so, one person, president or not, cannot just make a decision for millions of people and just change different things. There was another one this week. There was a compromise trying to open up in Arizona, and Biden like, oh no, we're going to stop that global warming or something. I don't understand. But anyway, the court said, hey, one person can't just go in there and stop this or start this and different things like that. So almost everything he's done has just really been I don't know, disappointing is not the word. For me to have both houses of Congress and the presidency and get nothing done. He promised to legalize marijuana. He promised minimum wage. He promised to have voting reform. He promised to end COVID. He promised to, do this, that, and the other thing, and none of it has come to par. So I'm very, just concerned. Is just another lying politician, or is he really, as Patrick just said, is he trying to destroy our nation or whatever? But we are all, as Patrick said, paying the consequences. Another thing Patrick mentioned, inflation, is really funny. I just moved and I have not been able to get a garbage can for my kitchen. Ever since August, I have went to Family Dollar, Dollar General, everywhere, and the garbage cans are gone, are nowhere, because they've got containers sitting out in California off of the coast of LA that people can't unload. And it's so funny. So I went to the store yesterday, a local Pick and Save, which is owned by Kroger's. They had a little kitchen garbage can. They wanted $20 for it. I'm like, wait a minute, this garbage can should be $7. It was $20. I went to Walmart. They had one. It was $26. I'm not as rich as you guys. I can't pay $30 for one little bitty garbage can. But anyways, those were great points. So we're going to move on. We're going to go up to Georgia, to somewhere around Stockbridge. Is that the city? I don't know. But anyway, Damon, the founder of the show, our main man. Damon, what do you think about Biden? You're back on the Liberty Show.
What up? What up? Joe Biden, short story, he can go to hell. He sucks all around. I can't really dispute anything that Patrick said, but kind of taking it a step further from the Black perspective, everybody got to understand there are cameras that record things. And Joe Biden, on the day that he was he won the presidency, he went in front of the cameras and told black people in America, Black people, I'm going to be a great champion for you. I won because of you, which is factual. It's not anecdotal. It's fact. If not for the black vote, he would not have won the presidency. So with that being said, Dr. Claude Anderson very poignantly says that voting is about a quid pro quo. You don't just vote for the sake of voting. You vote to get something tangible out of it. Everybody that has voted, white America, since the inception of this country, they've always gotten things for their votes. The New Deal was specifically used to benefit and create the white middle class. Blacks were excluded from that. So with that being said, since the 60s, Black folks have been almost unanimous in support of the Democrats. And at every turn, they should get legislation that's crafted towards them, if not in its entirety. Obviously, no president is president of only Black Americans, but when that's your main constituency, surely something you can get done on their behalf.
Let me tell you, Damon, we got Juneteenth Day.
We got Juneteenth Day. We got Hip Hop Day. That's fantastic. But they have not.
What is that doing for us, huh?
Right. They have not passed the George Floyd Policing Act. So basically, what that says is that cops, don't worry about ever being held accountable. You can still shoot people with impunity, even when you're caught on camera. Don't worry about it. We got your back. Essentially, Black folks have to riot in the streets in order to get justice for anybody, which should not be the case. If a cop is caught on camera, creating a hostile situation and killing somebody, unjustly, then they should be held accountable for that. The minute you talk about holding police accountable, then you've got some, police bootlickers out here that say, "Oh my God, cops have such a hard job," and nobody's discounting the roughness of their job. But at the end of the day, for the bad cops, the bad apples, so to speak, they need to be gone. Period. Point blank. They don't need to be there. So for the good cops, for it to continue to be a lauded profession, then the bad cops got to go. But every time that people bootlick for the bad cops, they're making it to where it seems to be acceptable for, even though you see this on camera, a lot of these cops, they come into situations when it comes to a Black person automatically hostile right off the jump. And there's evidence, because of smartphones, we are able to see now what we weren't previously able to see, in that when there are hostile aggressions by the police, you can see the Black person a lot of times is chilling. Now, if they eventually get pissed off, it's because of the poking and prodding from the cops, right? So, and there have been instances of, let's say there's a black person and a white person. The white person's cussing the Black person out. The cops get called. The Black person is trying to explain what the situation is. The cops immediately take the white person's side, even though it's on camera that the white person was the instigator. So there's a lot of biases within the policing system in that the Black person is always seen to be the enemy. The cops can come up to a scene with a Black person, whether the person's guilty or not. They come up with guns drawn, guns loaded, ready to rock and roll. But if it's a white person, there's evidence to the contrary. White people cussing the cops out. They've got their arm to the teeth. Cops are like, "Oh no, chill out, calm down." But when it's a Black person, they're ready to shoot to kill. And so until that gets rectified, and Joe Biden's punk ass with the Democrats could have done something about that, but they have yet to do that. And then furthermore,
well, let me ask you this: what about reparations? What has he done for reparations?
Not a damn thing. And another thing too. Inevitably, the Democrats always have in their back pocket, they've always got some little excuse to be able to say, hey, Black folks, we're doing this, we're doing that. In January, Biden signed an executive order, and the executive order, the title of it is Executive Order on Advancing Racial Equity and Support for Underserved Communities through the Federal Government. Now, when they say racial equity in underserved communities, that's basically a word salad. It means absolutely nothing, because when it comes to Black folks, everybody can be considered underserved community. Poor whites can be considered underserved. Right. But specifically when it comes to Black people, if the government and businesses for basically time immemorial in this country have specifically done things to harm Black people, then the restitution needs to be specific to correct for that. So when they try to pull out this BS about racial equity and helping underserved people, look, okay, you can do that too. But in addition to that, you need to make sure you make right what's been done to Black people. So with this executive order that he's talking about, at this point, the Democrats and Joe Biden are basically flicking their noses at Black people, because let me go back to it. In July of 2012, Obama, with Biden being the vice president at the time, there was an executive order in 2012, White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans. So essentially, they're kind of copying, pasting, and changing a couple of words, but there's never any action to it. So what you see with Biden being president, he comes in there, Asian hate is all in the media, some anecdotal stories of some Asian person getting pushed by some crackhead, and all of a sudden we got to pass legislation to make sure Asians aren't harmed. Okay, so if they're harmed, then that should be a civil rights violation or whatever, but no specific laws for Asians need to be passed. Meanwhile, the George Floyd Justice Act is still sitting there languishing. So they've done nothing specifically for Black people other than the hip hop day in Juneteenth. So they're essentially flicking their nose at Black people. So when the midterms come, they can basically kiss my Black ass.
Are you sure you? Well, you got a lot of stuff there to unload, buddy. But before you go, we'll come back to it because I want to move on. But I want to talk about too, Damon, when we come back to you, about the thing that he did with the HBCs and what Dr. Anderson is talking about, because that was really, really something. But we're going to move on. We're going to go down to near UGA to Miss Tammy's, and then we're going to follow her up with Tim. Tammy's, welcome. You're back on the Liberty Show. Is she there, Tammy?
I'm here.
Okay, what do you think?
I have no comments.
No, I don't believe that, first of all.
Yeah, I really don't. I really don't have any comments.
So what do you think of
because
Biden?
People fail to realize, I don't understand. People fail to realize that we have not been cleared from a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden has not been in office a year, and all I'm hearing is what he ain't done, what he ain't done. He don't sign this, he ain't that. I mean, there we go. There we go. He hasn't even been in office a year, and I'm listening to people. What he didn't do, what he hadn't done. We are still in the pandemic.
But let me ask you this,
walk
Tammy.
around here don't even want to get vaccinated. He trying to work and trying to get this vaccine out to these people and make these people take this vaccine. How we gonna? I mean, we got to combat that.
Well, Tammy, let me ask you that. But he is doing stuff. He's special, but he's not doing anything especially for people of color or the minority. He's doing stuff for the Asians. Doing stuff for the gays. Huh? He's doing stuff for the LGBT community. He's doing stuff for other countries. He's doing stuff about global, but he's not doing anything for Black people. He's not doing too much of what he promised.
And Tammy, Kevin, real quick, Tammy, so when we talk about the immigration piece and them rolling out the red carpet for getting hotels for Mexicans, but they specifically turn back Haitians, which are a darker hue people. I mean, Joe Biden has a history of siding with segregationists. He basically spoke at Strom Thurmond's funeral.
Well, you know what? You could say that. I mean, you could say that about all of them. You could say that about all of them.
Okay, but there's no need to cape for him though. I mean, it is what it is.
To each his own. I mean, he's there. You know, he's in office. So, I mean, I'm like,
if you don't believe in holding him accountable, I mean, that's you. But I mean, okay.
Yeah, that's me. I don't have to. You know, that's me. I mean, you know.
So do you?
I just get tired. I just get tired of the same old people saying the same. Put your trumpet. But here's the thing, though. What I want you to do, what I want y'all to do, put your trumpet back in there. Put your trump back in there. Put it back in there.
See, that's a very simple-minded. That's a very simple-minded mindset. That's a very simple-minded mindset because what you
they ain't no simple-minded mindset. Nothing. Forget Trump. Because all you want to do is run your mouth all the time. All y'all want to do. What y'all doing? What y'all doing?
Tammy,
what are y'all
doing? From a logical standpoint, not emotionalism. Forget Trump. What we got to do is look at Joe Biden as a 50-year track record of being wrong on damn near everything from foreign relations. He's been wrong on damn near everything. From a Black perspective, other than being
tell me who has been right about something. Tell me one has been right about something. Tell me the president has been up there been right about something.
I'm not here to debate that. What I'm talking about is we're talking about Joe Biden. We're talking about Joe Biden.
Well, I mean, you ain't even giving that man a chance. Y'all ain't even giving that man a chance.
It's October. It's October. What are we talking about? So here's the thing.
So what? I mean,
Tammy, chill out.
Got a pandemic.
Calm down.
A pandemic.
Remember what we're talking about. We're talking about right now. It's October. The midterms are next year. The Democrats, Malcolm X called this out 60 years ago, and what you're failing to realize, he's doing the same thing now. He's basically running out the clock because what's going to happen is in 2022, they're going to say, Black folks, we need your vote. Come on out. Well, he hadn't done anything yet, but guess what? Oh, he's going to do it now.
But don't go vote for him.
What?
Don't go.
Tammy,
no, I'm not going to.
Okay, guys, one at a time. Who is that? Pat? Is that Patrick?
Tammy, when you talk about Biden not getting, they've got the presidency, the Senate, and the House. So they've got a stranglehold on DC. They should be able to do anything that they want to do. And they can't.
Apparently they can't. Apparently they can't.
Well, it shows you
I'm sure some Republicans up there. I'm sure some Republicans up there.
Well, no, I think it shows
striking them down for something.
And the competency of the
don't get me on his economic plan because what plan? I mean, he hasn't got one thing passed on that.
And the last thing, hold on.
A pandemic
is you look at
you people are crazy. It's a pandemic. I'm gonna get off this because I'm getting upset. Somebody get off because we do have a pandemic.
Hold on, guys. Hold on, one at a time. Don't get off, Tammy. But we're going to switch over to Hold on, no, Tammy. Don't make me come down there to Athens.
That's all right. I'm about. I'm just getting.
Hold on. Calm down and rest yourself. We're going to go to Tim. Tim, you can always straighten. You're the only one that can handle Tammy. Come on, bring us home.
Well, I want to thank you, the hosts, and to the panelists. It's always great to be on the Liberty Show. I believe what we've experienced by listening to Tammy is what Black folks have done since the beginning of our enslavement in this country. We have coon walked, we have made all types of excuses for the slave master, and then when we get called out on it, we want to pick and choose the argument. The point is that Black folks don't understand how prostitution works. Let's take the Asians. The Asians have a clear understanding that if you're going to do me in the butt, you're going to pay for it. What did the Asians do when one little old Asian lady got hit by a person who was a Black person who was mentally unstable? They went and held Biden, quote unquote, accountable for a crackhead who had mental illness. They made that story into this, oh my gosh, there's a pandemic, there's an epidemic, there's a national crisis of Asians that are being killed, that are being viciously attacked by Black folks, and they tie that into his pick on for the cabinet member. They said, listen, we're not going to hold the vote for your cabinet member unless you acknowledge that we Asians are being slaughtered at every turn in this country. That was complete and total BS, but I give props to the Asians because they understand how to come together, how to use their leverage, how to use their power to affect change in their own communities. Black folks on the other end, we don't understand that. What we do is we get some white person who comes to our churches, who comes to our neighborhoods, he kisses a couple of Black babies, and we forget, as Damon has pointed out, this 50-year a-hole who's done everything that he can do legislatively to keep Black folks down. This is the same butthole Biden who said, listen, I am the creator. I am.
That's all y'all look out for is a handout. That's all
Tammy, let
y'all
him
look
talk.
out
Tammy,
for
let
a
him
handout.
talk. Tammy, you had your moment. Let him talk.
That's all look for a handout.
Oh boy.
Well, you know, Tanny, what you call a handout, I call quid pro quo. In other words, if you're going to get my vote, I demand something in exchange for it. I'm not voting for you so that you can take a picture every 4 years or every 2 years at my church, because I can't take that to the bank. So if taking a handout means quid pro quo, you're absolutely correct. Black folks need to get into the same mindset that every other people in this country have got into, is that our vote comes with a price. We don't understand this simple concept that if we want to be greater, if we want to have a seat at the table, if we want a greater place in this country, it's not going to come through us hoping and praying that some old white man who has a history of
singing
keeping
Kumbaya. Don't forget singing
his,
Negro.
and this is the thing, right? They always pick a handful of Black folks, and they get that handful of Black folks, and they get those hand-picked Black people, and they put them up on TV. We had these elected officials who get up on TV, and what is it that they do? They got on TV for the Civil Rights Act. They literally came together and sang some songs and went to praying and speaking in tongues. Listen, Black people, praying and singing in tongues has gotten us nowhere in this country. The only thing that's going to get us a seat at the table, that's going to get us what is due for us, is that we've got to hold these elected officials accountable. Tammy asked a great question. Well, can you point to a president who's done anything for the Black community? And she didn't say it like this, but I'm taking it as I heard it from her. We can't point to a Black president. We can't even point to an elected official if we're honest. If Black people are honest, even if we look at Powell from New York, we can't point, or Rango from New York, pick and choose whatever Negro you want that was elected into office. We as Black people, we can't even point to one, not one single Black person who's actually stood for the, and I don't want to use this word rights, because when we get into the rights of Black people, it becomes this ambiguous thing that no one can actually define. But we've never had one elected official who says, listen, here is the line. I'm not going to cross this line until you, and it's not a gift, until you do what you're supposed to do for my people, until you as an elected official, until you as an elected body do what's right for my people, do what you owe, pay back. And this is the thing, Teddy, it's not a handout if you owe me. If I borrow a couple, if I go to my neighbor and I say, neighbor, listen, I help, and here's an example of a story. Last night, my neighbor's car, the headlight somehow blew out. Now my neighbor needed a flashlight. So I gave my neighbor my flashlight with the understanding that, nigga, if you don't give me back my flashlight, you're gonna have to buy me a new flashlight. Now I say that in jest because this is a friend. Now the flashlight cost me $40. That means that in order for me to be made whole, if my neighbor decides to take my flashlight or forgets to give it back to me, a $30 flashlight won't make me whole. Black folks have gotten into the mindset that a $10 flashlight will make a $40 flashlight whole, and that's not the way things work. The Asians understand this, the whites understand this, the Hispanics, the brown folks understand this. Look at the outcry for the brown folks at the border. Them folks haven't even come into this country yet. They have more rights than Americans who have died in this country, than Americans who have given them their lives to fight for interests that they don't even have, and Halliburton and other financial interests that we'll never be able to grasp, that we'll never be able to capture. We as Black folks, we have to understand, and we have to make a stand. We have to draw a line and say, listen, We're not voting. I don't care if you're Black. I don't care what neighborhood you went to. I don't care if you went to an HBCU. It doesn't make any difference to me. We will not vote for you unless you meet our specific demands. Black folks have gotten into this mindset that, oh, well, we need them to do something for us. I have yet to hear an elected official actually riddle out a demand list that we as Black folks should demand. What is it? They talk about these abstract things. Well, we need civil rights. Well, we need equal housing. Well, we need, there's a wealth divide. Okay, great. Now, what exactly specific legislation are you going to craft that specifically addresses these things? They even said, well, listen, sure, you can't be the president just for Black folks, but you're the president for white folks, and you should have some legislative priorities that specifically target Black folks. When the whites talk about the poor people in Appalachia, they say, listen, these poor white folks in Appalachia, they need health care. These poor folks in Appalachia, they need education. They don't create legislation. They don't craft legislation that deals with the poor folks in Carroll City, or the poor folks in Overtown, or the poor folks in Liberty City, or the poor folks in Bankhead, or the poor folks in the Bronx. No, they craft legislation that directly and specifically targets the folks in Appalachia. That's what Black folks need to do.
Tim, we're going to wrap you up now, come back to you, but you brought out so many great points. I wouldn't even know where to start. But what I'm thinking of, you joked about that before, about the prostitution thing, and that sounds very crude to a lot of people, but I know none of you holy people have ever been with a prostitute, but I've watched movies and they always get paid up front. Did y'all know that? They don't even, take off their clothes. As soon as they get in the motel room, they want to get paid. And now escorts get paid online before they even show up. But we are getting to the point, especially with the Democrats and the liberals and the progressives, we just get a lot of empty promises. And that's just been a history for that party. And it's really disappointing. Like Tim said, if you're going to do your business, we need to get paid for it and get paid up front, not later or not 4 years later. Tammy keeps saying, give him a chance. When is he going to even start? When are they going to begin to do it? But anyway, we're going to move on. Let's see if Miss Charlie or Miss Jackie has something to say, and then we'll.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been taking notes. Kevin.
Yes.
Don't ever get authentic Georgia woman angry. I know 3 of them, authentic, born in Georgia, because they will beat you, or you will felt like you were beat when you get them mad. You got to be tender to a Georgia woman, but don't get them angry. All right, here we go. Patrick, nobody said nothing when George H.W. Bush had inflation in 1991 with his Congress. Nobody.
Tell it, ma'am, tell it.
Hey, I got the floor, Miss Georgia. This is Pennsylvania. Nobody said nothing in 2001 when the Sun sent troops to Afghanistan. And I have debate every day at my government work site. And the poor white trash people think I'm crazy. So at the end of the day, Kevin, I'm headed for a mental institution in a straitjacket. I want Damon and Tim Smith and you to come visit me. I'm choosing upstate New York. They got the best sanitariums in the nation. Number 3, vaccinations. We're all quiet. It's a choice in this country. You need to replay what was said in 2020 at the DNC convention, just the first 5 minutes. We have a constitution. This is democracy. It is a choice. If you don't ask me, I'm not going to tell you if I do or do not have vaccination. You have to ask me. Miss Jackie, did you get vaccinated for COVID? COVID. Nobody said nothing or made noise when this whole nation was shut down. In this entire country, you could not get a license to drive a tractor trailer truck because Donald Trump shut everything down for 8 weeks and longer. Now everybody's crying, we can't get toys because at the docks, they are backlogged because they don't have qualified drivers. New York, they don't have qualified truck drivers, so we can't have toys. This is what you get when Congress sends everything overseas and you have to bring it over. I agree with Patrick. We could have used their minerals for the chips, and we wouldn't have a backlog of cars that cannot be manufactured without the chip. But did Congress think about that in 91 or 2001? No. So now it's a problem, all because of COVID. We ain't got supplies in this nation. All I can say, Tammy, at the end of the day, none of those jokers deserve to hear from me that they are the commander in chief or the president. I'm going by first name. No, I'm not a candidate for my congressional election next year. No. You have to start from the bottom, like Tim Smith said. And I like Tim because he makes it plain and simple. And I'm not going to repeat what he said because he makes it just plain and simple. Yes, he went to HB College. So what? I mean, he just makes it plain and simple. Back to Damon and his Claude Anderson. I'm middle road with that because at the end of the day, you need to have a economic course. You're not going to do them virtual now to understand where Claude Anderson is coming from. We ain't got no middle class since 1991. You either, like in India, the caste system, upper class or down the bottom where you're cleaning out sewers for the upper class. We ain't got it because since 1991, the two-party system in this nation has been nothing but a disgrace. That's why when I said George Bush, you notice I didn't say President George. Oh, no. It's never going to come out of my mouth. Because for 4 years, Donald Trump has embarrassed our nation. But he made it clear about racism through the George Floyd killing. It's still here. So what about civil rights with Dr. Martin Luther King? It's still in our U.S. Constitution. You have to get a committee to fight Congress to do away with the United States Constitution. Yes, I know about the immigrants. They get luxury BMWs and condos, and we that were born in this nation don't get them. White trash people try to brainwash me every day, and I have to go home, take out my passport and say, yes, I am 1000% American, because it says on my passport. But you listen to them, they think you're nobody. But I am somebody. I'm not a politician, but I am somebody. And I have more rights, civil rights, that's in the amendment that was signed by Johnson. Remember now, I didn't say president. Signed by Johnson in 1994. I have equal rights. But those immigrants don't. They come across my computer screen 5 days a week. No social security number. And that raised flags. The either green card, cartel, I'm being biased, the either green card or part of a cartel and no social security number. I have one. Kevin has one. Tim Smith has one. Davian has one. These immigrants. Why do they get BMWs? Why do they get condos when they're not authentic, legalized Americans? And I have to work smarter, 40 hours a week to obtain a luxury BMW and a condo. They even get welfare. I would have to be homeless for a year without annual income to get welfare. You just come off the boat, get welfare, the BMW. Can't be a Chevy, it has to be a BMW and a condo. I have problems with that, but I sleep well. I don't drink a Colt 45 more liquor, but I sleep well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Pennsylvania, Jackie up in Pennsylvania. Glad to always have you back on the Liberty Show. You brought out a lot of great, everybody's just really hitting so many points tonight, and there's so much to talk about and deal with. But I think we're hitting the thing Tim hit on is that just holding our elected officials accountable. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, it's two sides of the same coin to me. They just lie. They're just liars. And, when are we going to stop falling for these lies? But to Miss Jackie brought up a really great point of why. And I wanted to do a show on that, but the why is so simple. It's really socialism. And we want to lift up everybody. We want to help the immigrants, help humanitarians, help everybody but Black folk. We want to help the poor. We want to help the Appalachian people. We want to help global warming. But when are we going to start helping Americans? And when are we going to help ourselves? We want to go help Afghanistan. We want to go help, the Taiwanese, it's just, when are we going to start, charity starts at home. When are we going to start building our economy and helping, educate our people and build up our people? We have more immigrants or international students in American colleges than Americans. Yes, we want to educate them. It's a great thing to do, but, are we here to take care of everybody around the world? And, it's just a little bitty bits and pieces of socialism trying to creep in. Let's help everybody. Let's put this all thing, into one. And I'll come on the record. I'm not a socialist. It's not about me helping others. It's about me looking out for Kevin. And if I choose to help somebody, that's my prerogative, but the government should not force me to. So we're going to go to Miss Charlie, and then we're going to see if Will has any comments. Miss Charlie, welcome. You're back on the Liberty Show.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, panel. I really don't have much to say. I've been listening to both sides, and I completely understand or sympathize with both sides. But I guess if I go back to the day when we only had two choices between Biden and Trump, um, without a doubt, I was going to vote for Biden because Trump had already shown me that, he knew how to fail. So it's, the choice between the lesser of the two evils. So we went with Biden. However, I will say he's doing thus far a poor job. So I'm to a point where it's almost like I trust no one as far as a Black person goes in this country. It's filled with lies. We can't even have, I guess, in essence, the conversation that needs to be had, the race issue in this country. As long as it still exists, we're always going to be, to me, I guess, as Black people, chasing our tails because the conversation that needs to be had is not being had. So we can continue to vote for whomever. I think, like most people on the panel have mentioned, what president has done something for African American people in this country, and nobody can actually come up with a president that has been honest and true and tried to assist or help or or bridge the gap. I don't think in this country we will see a president that's going to do that. So, at that point, it becomes, what should we do? As far as Black people go, I do believe, yes, we should have our own Black voting block. I do believe we should get something out of the deal. But when it's so difficult for us to even come together to even do a Black voting block, we have, to me, no one but ourselves to blame for that. And until we do, they're just gonna keep with the bullshit and the lies. So at this point, for me, I'm not even sure if I even want to vote anymore. And I hate saying that because so many people have died, and had the dogs and the hoses and all the things that went on for us to even have the right to vote. But I don't trust and I don't believe in the system anymore.
Well,
So
Miss
on
Charlie,
either side.
I want to go back to one thing you said. One of the biggest things in our country is the race issue, and both parties, but even Biden, even though people of color helped him get in, they
Right.
don't want to deal with that issue. When it comes to reparations,
Right.
when it comes to the police shootings, when it comes to dark-skinned immigrants, when
Mhm.
it comes to him defunding HBC, it's just not an issue. And we want to walk around it because, it's a black eye on our country. And you can't, but you got to deal with something. This is like if you're married and you're having problems, something you just got to deal with, even though
I
it's ugly,
totally agree. But
and that.
I think, but with in regards to, at that time when it was time for us to vote, what choice did we have? It was either Biden or Trump. Well,
Well, I understand
Trump.
that part, but
So, and I think
I
that's the
guess
only
so.
reason why we gave Biden a chance. However, I guess what I'm fearful of now, if it ends up in 2024, and those are the only two candidates that we have, I'm not. I don't know if I can vote for either one. And that's an unfortunate, ugly thing to say because I don't think either one, as far as the Black person goes, you're not going to do anything for us. So what is the
They
point?
just want Trump back in there. Folks, just put Trump back in there. That's all I say.
Well, what's
Put
going on?
Trump back in there. Just put Trump back in there and let's
Hold
call
on,
it a day.
Tammy. Hold on, Tammy. Charlie has the floor. But Charlie, let me tell you, that's where the quote, the libertarian perspective comes in. I really believe not just the Libertarian Party per se, but that there are going to be some new parties getting raised up. Because, you know, you brought a great point. That's how I got to become a libertarian. I was sick of both of the lies, the hypocrisy, the cheating. And a lot of people are like where you're at, and we call them independents or middle, centrists now. They're sick of it. They don't want to go with either party. So I believe there's going to be a party raised up, or some independents really like Ross Perot that really come up and take over, because people are just sick of this two-party duopoly that have failed most people. But go ahead, Ms. Charlie.
I'm curious to know, though, even with another party that comes up, what exactly are they going to do for Black? I don't see them doing anything for Black people because
well,
they don't
I think
have
it's how it's presented. And Dr. Anderson, I don't know, Damon, I need Damon to send what you sent me and Tim to Miss Charlie. About 2 weeks ago, he did something about Blacks when they were defunding the Black universities. And Dr. Anderson made a great point that Black people have been brainwashed to not expect anything, not want anything. You can do, it's just like we've been promised some mule and 40 acres, never got it. But as long as you hang that carrot in front of us, I'm gonna give you free. I went through the list of Biden. Oh, we're gonna have free 2-year college.
Right.
Oh, we're gonna have hold on. We're gonna have free daycare for everybody. Oh, we're gonna have home health care for senior citizens.
Right.
We can't do all of that, first of all. But as long as they dangle that in front of us, So go ahead.
I am curious, even if he is, if he runs again or whatever,
he's gonna lose. He's already lost. He did it to himself. And I mean,
okay, so you can do anything either, but I can't trust Trump if he gets back on the ticket. It's a win for me. It's a winless situation. I don't think.
No, that's when you come up with a new party.
If a libertarian, I don't see them because
I would never
vote
for any party but the Democratic Party.
It is not.
I would never vote for any but the Democrats.
Whoever
Bye, y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Political wise, it's all for self and power. They have proven time and time again, they don't care about the people unless you're rich or you're in that 1%.
Well, but Miss Charlie, that's where our movement is coming in. We need some people like you and Damon and Tim and Patrick to run for office and make a difference. And yes, it's going to be challenging because this system is so biased. But
exactly.
That is where we're going. So we're going to move on. I don't know how Will, how much time do we have left? Producer, sir?
As much time as you want. We don't have a radio show, so we can go as long as you want.
Okay. Do you have any comments, Will? And then we'll go back for rebuttals.
So many comments, but I don't want to get fired in 10 years when I try to be the host of Jeopardy. So, just no to all this. No. Politics sucks. There is no winning politics that we have right now. Every president since I've been born has been terrible. Reagan until now. Every one of them has been horrible in one way or another.
Don't say that Reagan is a god to the Republicans. Don't say that.
He took away guns from the Black Panther Party in California. So yeah, he's a gun-loving president. No, he was not. He's terrible. All of them are terrible. Like if we go back to 1992, like back then, I kind of thought it was a good idea to get Trump out, but I was also 12. Not Trump, get Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. I was also 12. I didn't know anything back then. In 2000, we had we had the World Trade Center in 2001, and going over to Iraq and going over to Afghanistan sounded like a good idea. I thought maybe we could liberate and allow women to have some more rights over in the Middle East. Well, it turns out most of that area doesn't want to be like us, and so learned a lot since then. And just looking at all of this right now, I've never seen the Libertarian Party have a chance. I mean, what did we get? What did Joe get in the presidency? Like 3-4% at the most of the vote?
No, like 1%.
Yeah, it was bad. When I ran for county council in my area, I got 1.4% of the vote. So yeah, if
that's
you want to have
another show, but part of that is the Libertarians' point of view, the party.
If you want to have somebody run, great, but I mean, it's an uphill battle talking to, I think it was Jackie, but it might have been Tammy. They were talking to quickly. I couldn't tell that they're always going to vote for Democrat no
Yeah,
matter
Tammy,
what.
yeah. Well,
That is the
that's the
problem
way
in the world. That
a
is the
lot of
problem.
people are like that. You have that, and it's disturbing to me too, because we don't learn from our mistakes in America. We really don't. And that's to Miss Charlie's point. The race has just messed up our country. We still don't learn from it. You know, voting for these two duopoly system, we don't learn from it. Listening to lying politicians, we don't learn from. Okay. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, I just gotta say, stop with the politics. Let's all just go try to get better jobs. This is the best time in the world to get a better job is right now. If you want to work, go work. Don't be a government official, go out and do whatever you want to make money. I just changed jobs. I think everybody should be looking for a better job. If you're working right now, try to get a better promotion, try to go to a better company that pays you better. Everybody's fighting, depending on your area, for $15 an hour. I have a car wash that's paying $20 an hour, which is pretty close to what I was getting paid before I left. And that's with 5 years experience and a 4-year degree. And, car wash people with their tips are getting paid almost as much as me. That hurt. That was an eye opener for me. So get your skills, move them up, and go from there is all I got to say. This politics, it's not winning right now.
Okay. We've had a really good show. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Liberty Show with Kevin Fortune and friends. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, go to YouTube, like us, thumbs up, as well as subscribe. You can go to our website, www.thelibertyshow.us, and become a sponsor. So we're going to open the floor for a few minutes to any rebuttals. Since we're not on the radio, we can cuss each other out, but no, we would never do that. We're holy, we're all good, holy, roly people. But anyway, any rebuttals, any responses to anything that's been said tonight from anyone?
Kevin, I got a couple things.
Okay.
Yep. For Will, it might not be the best time to find a job if you're someone who is not jabbed or doesn't want to get that vaccine, because the company is not wanting to hire those people, actually firing them in many cases. So not quite the best time to be looking for a job if you're a segment of the country that has not taken a vaccine. I heard a lot about.
Okay, I don't have a jab.
What's that?
I don't have a jab. I went to a company that has 10 people, and I went from a company that had 1,700. They hadn't said anything about getting a jab yet at my old company, but going to the new company, it's not going to be a point for a while. Plus, I work from home.
Well, that's good. Then you're one of the success stories. But there's lots of people that either have to leave their job or to do something they don't want to do, which is to take the vaccine. So that's a success story. But you're not seeing that in a lot of places.
And I say to a lot of people that don't have the jab and are getting fired, look around, find out who your friends are. These people are very hireable. They quit a job or were fired. They were actually fired for their morals and their beliefs. If I had a business, I would hire them up in a second, whatever they're good at. And if it lines at all with what I'm doing, definitely hire those people, because they will do what they want to and they will fight for it. Those are people you want on your team.
Absolutely. They've got conviction and a value set. So that 100% agree.
Or they just stupid. No. No, because let me clarify. I want to kick in on that, because that is really, I guess, me being a business major, but private companies can do that as long as the government doesn't mandate. If I own, and I, and this is where, like, I was listening to some Republicans the other day, they keep flip-flopping. If you're talking about a free market economy, if I own a company, I can mandate that my employees do that, because that's a free market. It's when the government intervenes and mandates it. If I, and there's a lot of both two sides to that. If I have a company, somebody gets sick and I keep getting sued, or, there's just so many different parts to that. It's more than just people's morals or convictions, because we only have morals when we want to have morals, is my point. I'm not, disagreeing with you, Patrick. I'm just saying we have morals when it's convenient. Does that make sense? Or when it's, but anyway, go ahead, finish your point.
Okay,
sir.
so the next point I want to jump to is I did hear a lot of disapproval of Biden. I guess it was really struggling for that word. And in regards to the panelists on here who are Black. And I think that falls right in line with what the polling you're seeing right now is. There's 71% approval in Black voters of Biden, and that's down 5%. Disapproval is 24%, and that's up 7%. Both those are pretty healthy percentages. And when they start going in those directions, they're going to continue in those directions. And I think that's why we're seeing what's going on with the border. I think the Democratic Party realizes they've lied to their base for so long. They need to start importing more voters to replace those who are seeing right through their bullshit. And you couple that with mail-in balloting, which is very easy to rig, essentially, to use fraudulent ballots and whatnot. They may have a stranglehold on politics going forward. So we talk about a third party and actually having a different platform than what we're seeing out there, or at least people who will follow through with what they say they're going to do. It's not going to happen until there's auditing, election reform, and just getting rid of things like machine ballots, mail-in balloting. That's all done to control the outcome of an election. It's not to give a legitimate vote count. So people are going to argue at that point. I realize that, but that's what this is about. And I'm sure with everything going on with COVID, we're going to have a midterm variant too, which will be a reason for districts that are in trouble to have mail-in ballots to get the result that they need. They're trying to do it right now in Virginia. There's a governorship race. You should see the laws they're trying to enact and the ways they're trying to make it very easy to really kind of get any ballots in that need to do it. No signatures, no witnesses, anything you can think of, they're trying to get through. And that's not giving people a voice. And anything, it's very anti-voter, because if I vote and 3 or 4 duplicate votes or fraudulent votes go in, that waters down my vote. So that becomes a voting rights issue right there. So just a couple thoughts from what I heard in today's discussion.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
Just to piggyback
yes,
on Patrick's point.
Yeah, with the voting, I'm sorry, Tim. You
No,
go right
go
ahead.
ahead.
All right.
No, I'm listening.
I'm just piggyback about the voting with Patrick Sweet. We are 50 states. Every state has issues with voting rights. It's in the Civil Rights Amendment. So whatever they do, it's a state by state decision. I forget what state you represent, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Remember, Patrick, whatever each individual state does with voting rights, that's all about them. It's not about Jackie Carlton.
Okay.
You look at things like
thank you.
A lot of those voting rights, and that's why they should have been challenged in courts. They were not done by the government bodies that should be changing those. A lot of those were done by governors and I cannot remember the office,
Yes.
election officer. What is the name of that? Rathensberg, whatever his role is in Georgia. Those folks were changing the voting laws to be more favorable to basically fraudulent voting. It was all part of it. It was all gaming the system. Billions of dollars came in through foreign organizations. Facebook was a big one. The steal was on, and we're seeing the repercussions of that right now. We've got an incompetent administration running this country, and what we're seeing right now is the fruits of that. So we really want to see audits. We really want to see election reform. People want vaccine IDs, which I think are a terrible idea. If New York, you need a vaccine ID to buy a hamburger, but you don't need an ID to vote. I mean, give me a break. It's insanity.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Well, Patrick brings up an excellent point, and Ms. Jackie hit on it also. The duopoly, both the Republicans and the Democrats see the voters, no matter what group of voter, no matter what group you may fall in, whether you're Black, whether you're Southern, whether you're white, whether you're Protestant, Catholic, whatever the case is, they see us as being members or workers in a brothel. And they go into the brothel and they have their business, and they pick and choose which individual or which group they're going to do their business on. Black folks don't understand this simple concept that once they do their business on you, they just find someone else to do their business on them. And this is where the brown folks come in. And I have nothing against brown folks. I am a proud Miami Cuban. Shout out to West 49th Street in Hialeah. But Black folks, at the end of the day, when the race war breaks out, I'll be fighting on the side of Black folks. So Black people have to understand that if they see you as being a sex worker, if they see you as being a worker in a brothel, that means that you need to collect what's due you. You can't just be like, hey, do your business on me and we'll talk about it next week. Well, we'll talk about it 2 weeks, or when you feel like it, we can talk about what you think is due me, what you think is fair, what you think my labor is worth. No, what you have to do beforehand is you got to get that John squared away. You need to get to him and tell him, listen, if you want to do me, that's going to come at a cost, and that cost is X, Y, Z. And you can't just let them flash and dash. You need them to put that money in your pocket before you just lay down and spread your legs, as my grandmother used to say. So this is what Black people fail to understand, is that we've been spreading our legs, hoping and wishing that the John will treat us the way that we ought to be treated. And the John is looking at us saying, listen, I've already done my business. I'm gonna jump to the next one. And this is what Black folks have failed to understand. And this is why the brown folks, listen to how many coons we had that are elected talking about, oh, well, we need to help these people that are on the opposite side of the American border get into the United States. Well, what happens when the Democrats help those people that are on the opposite side, emphasis on the opposite side of the American border? Well, now they got a whole new block of people that they can prostitute. They got a whole new block of people that they can use to push their agenda. And get this, those brown folks that are on the opposite side of that border, they understand how prostitution works. They understand that if I'm going to spread my legs, if I'm going to grab my ankles, nigga, you got to pay me first. Thank you.
Tim, never a dull moment.
Tim, I love your mind.
Huh?
I love your mind.
I think he needs another analogy.
I think
Well,
it
you
works.
know-
that Tim
Keep
Smith,
using it until it stops
keep
working.
it playing, Tim Smith. Keep it playing. Thank you.
But you know, it isn't as pretty, Miss Charlie, but I think it's been real. You know, another analogy Tim gave, and I moved recently to Milwaukee, and he's talking about people, especially Black people, being on the plantation. And I thought it was just a scenario, but up here, I thought Atlanta was bad. I have never seen it. They are so far stuck on the plantation, but they love it. They will pay to stay on the plantation. You try to get them off the plantation, they'll shoot you. You know, so some of these analogies don't sound good, but they're very real. And honestly, that's what we need as Americans. We need somebody to slap us, damn it, in the face and wake our ass up, because we're not even asleep. I don't know what's going on. So Damon, you want to close us out?
I have no problem with that. I mean, it's a great
Come
show
with the
tonight.
fire now. Wait a minute. Come with
Huh?
the fire. Don't make me fire you.
No, it was a great show tonight, you know, but the takeaway needs to be that Will mentioned it. And like I said, I guess several people echoed it, but like I said, Biden, he's on the chopping block right now because he and the Democrats have what we consider full control, you know, but then they want to use all these excuses talking about the filibuster this, filibuster that. But what they don't realize is that the Republicans don't even need to be in a majority to do what they're going to do. You know, when Trump was in there, they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. They don't give a damn about, you know, making the Democrats come along, but the Republicans don't care about that. The Democrats, for some foolish reason, I have no idea, they think they're going to get the people who hate them to come along. So as an example, Joe Biden went up to, I think it was Benton Harbor, Michigan, which is basically a red city. People voted for Trump 100%. Well, not 100%, but basically the majority of them. So a city that does not care about him, he went up there. They had, you know, fuck Joe Biden signs, all this, that, and the other thing. He was going over there to talk about his Build Back Better plan.
Let's go, Brandon.
Huh?
Let's go, Brandon.
Meanwhile, in the same state, what's up with Flint, right? So this goes back to when Biden was vice president. Flint still doesn't have clean water. So as part of your Build Back Better plan, how's Flint coming along? You know, what's going on with that? That's been going on a decade, maybe even two. So, you know, please, you know, Tammy, she dropped off, thank God. But the thing is, if you're going to say, I'm going to vote Democrat no matter what, or Republican no matter what, that's a brain dead mindset. You've got to understand that if you vote for them, they should give you something for your vote. If they're not going to do that, then they can kiss your ass. And that's pretty much where we need to stand with it.
Well, guys, wonderful show as usual. I thought this was going to be a little boring, blasé show, but of course it never is. No, great show, guys. And in closing, reminder that you listen to The Liberty Show. Find us on Facebook and Instagram, www.thelibertyshow.us. Make sure you go to YouTube, hit that like button, thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. Just in closing, just to take away, let's put our liberty into action. You know, we talk and we raise a lot of great points tonight. but let's do something with it. And I think we're all saying that we're tired of business as usual. We're tired of the same old, same old. So let's go out and make a difference. Have a good night.